There's been a lot of debate over exactly how successful the iPhone X had been since its launch last year. On the one hand, it was one of the best-selling smartphones in December 2017 worldwide, according to data tracked by Kantar Worldpanel. And yet other reports point to Apple slashing production in half for the early part of this year, citing sluggish sales. So is it a hit or a flop? Turns out, the most important question isn't how the iPhone X has sold, at least not for smartphone shoppers. A more critical concern is whether Apple makes the best phone and whether you should buy it. And the answers are yes and yes. Here's why. 1. The best display. It's ironic that chief Apple rival Samsung makes the OLED panel for the iPhone X, but based on our testing and side-by-side screen comparisons with other phones, Apple's 5.8-inch Super Retina screen on the iPhone X is tops. 2. Top-notch cameras. In our camera face-off between the iPhone X and the Pixel 2, Google's phone was neck and neck with Apple's flagship and actually beat it in low light. But the dual rear cameras on the iPhone X offer more natural-looking portraits and its colors were truer and brighter in some cases. 3. Face ID beats fingerprints. It's nice that phone makers are working to integrate the fingerprint reader into the screen, but what happens when you have crumb, sweat or grease on your fingers? You're going to run into the same issues that plague today's sensors. With the iPhone X's Face ID, you just stare at your phone and swipe up. And it looks like it's going to take a while for other companies to catch up to Apple's true depth camera and machine learning techniques. 4. It's the fastest phone. Granted, the same A11 Bionic chip powers the iPhone 8 and iPhone 8 Plus, but I'd rather pair the blazing speed of this processor with a much better looking display and design. On both real-world tests and synthetic benchmarks, the iPhone X is miles ahead of all Android phones. And even though the Snapdragon 845 chip should close the gap when it starts appearing in new phones, leaked results point to Apple having a comfortable lead for a while. 5. Good quality control. With the exception of one prominent early bug that prevented users from operating the iPhone X in cold weather, which Apple has since addressed with an update, there hasn't been many major complaints about Apple's flagship. Compare that to a handset like the Pixel 2, which seemingly had a new bug discovered every week in the first couple of months after launch. As Vlad Suv writes for The Verge, the absence of outrage and complaint about the iPhone X, especially in our present era where taking offense seems like the best way to be heard, is in itself a huge accomplishment for Apple. Bottom line. At $999, the iPhone X is definitely not for everyone. And it's also not perfect. With the absence of a home button, the gestures take some getting used to. And the notch at the top of the display can be an eyesore when you're using apps with a white background. But overall, Apple deserves credit for crafting a 10th anniversary device that continues to live up to the hype.